Well, I'm actually very, very shocked. I really never thought this would happen to me in the Philippines or anywhere else for that matter, to be honest with you. So last night we had an attempted burglary. Fortunately, they were unsuccessful. I'll get into the full details here in the video coming up. Hey gang, welcome back to the Philippines and to my channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're coming back, got a little update on what's been going on here. Exploring this new park. I'll show you around just a little bit. But last night was not exactly the best. So promise you this is not clickbait. This actually happened last night. About 3 o'clock in the morning, my daughter, who's actually my adult daughter, who's actually staying with us right now here in the Philippines, she came upstairs. She'd got up to use the restroom and she came up, and I was kind of out of it at that point, 3 o'clock in the morning. And she's like, there's a man at the front door. And when I'm thinking the front door, I'm actually thinking our gate coming into our driveway. And so I got her to clarify, and he's like, no, he's right at our front door. And so, you know, I grabbed something and went downstairs to find out what was going on. He had already left by that point. He had jumped the wall. But what had happened is that she was in the restroom, she started hearing some sort of scratching at the door. And what it turned out to be was our screened door connected to a sliding glass that we had. He was using some sort of instrument. I think he was actually probably using the pole that goes to our dustpan that we use to clean up outside to scratch into and cut the screen out of the door. And he had it wide open. He was perfectly visible when she saw him. She said that he kind of froze. I found this out after the fact. Kind of froze, and she immediately ran upstairs to get me, which was the right thing to do and the smart thing to do. And so I went down, like I say, to find out what was going on, what had happened. And basically I have 4 different lines of defenses in my home in the Philippines. I have the same thing when I'm in the United States and other places. But in the Philippines, our first round of defense is basically your gate, containing the driveway and the front of the property. And that was still perfectly secure. So what had happened was, I rent a house, but the landlord who owns the house actually owns 2 of the houses right next door to me. Lot lines are like 0 lot lines in the Philippines, so there's a wall between the houses, but you know, there's not much room in between them. Well, that was vacant because the previous renters next door had left. And so unfortunately the owner of the property had left those gates unlocked. So this person was able to come in through there, hide at the other residence. In fact, they left their doors unlocked and everything. There was nothing inside, but still. And he was able to jump the wall early in the morning hours that was dividing our property, because we really don't have any sort of security in between there. It's probably an 8-foot tall wall, but we don't have any, like, you know, traditional countermeasures such as you would see in different countries around the world, such as broken glass or spikes or anything in between there. All of that's from the front of the property going all the way across the different houses to prevent people from gaining access there. If you're hearing a humming, by the way, it's from this brand new pond here in this park, and there's a pump over there. So I'll move away from that so we can continue to talk. Anyway, when I went down to investigate, so we have 2 entrances to our front. One of them is the front door. It has a screen door, just a traditional door and a screen door attached to it. And they had propped open the screen door and put one of those like 5-gallon water jugs that we keep outside to bring in when we need them, to prop the screen in. And he tried to jimmy the locks. Apparently, it looked like they had tried to be turned with some sort of a tool or something. That was unsuccessful, so he moved on to the sliding glass door. And I think what had happened is we had people coming in to clean all the air conditioning units at the house, and they had brought their equipment in through that sliding glass door, and so we didn't have the rod. Somebody had left the rod out between the sliding glass door, and I believe somebody had actually left the sliding glass door unlocked. So when I went down, the sliding glass door was wide open. The screen door, which apparently had been locked back, was where he had cut into that to try to get in and mess with the interior. Now we have, as a lot of people in the Philippines do, we have bars on all the doors, we have bars on all the windows. So he was trying to reach in and mess with the padlocks. I don't think he knew that there was more than one countermeasure there, and trying to jimmy that somehow when my daughter apparently came in and disrupted that. So he had bypassed, like I say, the gates, which is the first round of security. He was not able to get through our barred system as far as the windows and the doors. Really, any sort of security preventions you do is really just buying you time in these situations. And unfortunately, although I maintain that the Philippines, as far as violent crime and stuff goes for foreigners, still a very, very safe place to be. I don't really have many, if any, concerns of that. Unfortunately, like all countries in the world, there are property crime issues here, and there had been a spout of those. So the next thing that we did the next morning was went down to the Barangay Hall, which is kind of like your local, not the city, but kind of your local town or area that you live in's officials, and made the report. And we found out that that same night there had been several different reports of stuff like that. This little turd was caught on the CCTV camera. So if anybody in the Davao area knows who this person is, please let's report him and get him and his buddies off the street going around and burglarizing, because apparently there's been an uptick. And this is an actually very nice established neighborhood. And anyway, I'd like to see these guys gotten off the street. So everybody in the house was unharmed. Again, he didn't, whoever it was and his crew, didn't actually get into the house. But it did shake up both my wife and my daughter. My middle son got very upset by the whole thing after he found out about it later today, what had happened last night. Me, to be honest with you, once I realized that the threat was past and we were safe, everything was okay, you know, I was kind of okay with that. You know, these things happen. I've been a part of those happening in other countries. When I was in the United Kingdom, I actually did a vlog about that, talking about that everybody in an apartment complex that I had been in got broke into, with the sole exception of mine. I just love how here in the Philippines, these cars who want to park will follow slowly behind you when there's like 100 different parking places. It blows my mind. Anyway, because they want the one place that you happen to be walking through at the time. So that kind of brings me to the point of this video. You can see all the students here. I guess they're getting ready to plan some sort of a play. This is a really incredible park. But that gets me to the point of the video. I'd actually wanted to do one of these about security precautions that you can take at your home. And the best way to learn about taking security precautions in the Philippines is actually from what the Filipinos themselves do. I mean, they've lived here their whole lives for generations, and they know what works and they know what doesn't. So as I said in the beginning of this, the first countermeasure is your gate, the system that actually gets into the property. And you'll see here spikes and broken glass and things to prevent people from climbing over your gates, from climbing over the walls to get in. And then generally within that gated compound, you're going to have a dog, which we always had. Wasn't one here at this time though. He's back in Digos at the moment. So the dog is going to cause noise, which is going to, you know, keep people away from the home, because burglars don't like homes. Have lighting systems that also will deter from that, because they really don't like to be seen. They want to be hiding in the shadows and things. And again, this night, I was not the last one to go to bed, and somebody had not turned the outside lights on. So it was kind of dark, which was kind of an open invitation to come on in. So that's your first line of defense. The second one is having those iron bars on your windows, on your doors, to deter from having any sort of anybody getting into the actual house. I had these steel doors in the United States. They worked very efficiently. I know I had at one point accidentally left my keys inside when I went out to my car and locked it, the door that is, and there was no way in Hades that I was able to get into that house. Finally had to call someone who actually had a spare set of keys to my house to get in. Unfortunately, at that point, I didn't have my cell phone because I'd left it in there in the bag with my keys. So I had to go to a neighbor's house at that point. So they are very effective. Try as I might, I couldn't get into anywhere in my house in the United States. Then you can have more security measures inside, such as having a dog, locking your interior doors, having something that obviously, if you get into a physical altercation, that you can take care of with the would-be intruder. Although I will warn you, and do your own research on this, but the self-defense laws here in the Philippines are really kind of wacky. The crap that I see on the internet, it's not like the United States where you can stand your ground and basically the person's bought and paid for when they come in. So if you do anything, you could risk being charged later on. So consult with a Filipino lawyer to see what your actual rights are. Don't take anybody's advice from YouTube. Anyway, at the end of the day, we were all safe. And this can happen anywhere in the world. Our security system did work. Enjoyed this and you want to see more, subscribe so you can find my channel again.